Hello there, my name is Justin and welcome to Errant Venture Radio. Today I'm going to be discussing some of the systemic flaws that prevented the New Republic from maintaining peace in the galaxy following the end of the Galactic Civil War, and the changes that could have been made to allow the Republic to survive as an institution. Following the destruction of the second Death Star and the alleged death of Emperor Palpatine, the Rebel Alliance underwent sweeping reforms. Mere days after the Battle of Endor, the Alliance to restore the Republic was reformed into the New Republic. Now this represented a serious political and military change in policy, as Alliance leadership transitioned from operating as a fledgling insurrection into a full-fledged nation-state, and the legitimate inheritor to the legacy of the Old Republic. For the next year, the New Republic would engage the Galactic Empire in various Imperial remnant factions in the kind of traditional open war which had so rarely been an option during the earlier stages of the rebellion. Indeed, the only other occasion in which the rebels had attempted to fight a standing war against the Empire had been during the disastrous Mid-Rim Offensive, which had culminated in a series of Pyrrhic victories and costly retreats, when the highly motivated but poorly equipped rebel partisans attempted to fight standing battles against the Imperial war machine. But the weeks and months following the victory at Endor played out very differently for the fledgling New Republic, likely due to organizational paralysis and infighting that the Empire experienced following the sudden loss of Emperor Palpatine. These difficulties were of course exasperated by the ongoing effects of Operation Cinder, which saw die-hard Imperial loyalists performing war crimes and atrocities on both Imperial and Republic-held worlds. All this meant that the New Republic was not only able to stand up to the Empire in a traditional open war, but that they were also able to take and hold an increasing number of worlds as the Galactic Empire collapsed in upon itself. After the decisive victory of the New Republic at the Battle of Jakku in 5 ABY, the New Republic and Galactic Empire signed the Galactic Concordance, which formally ended the Galactic Civil War. The Galactic Concordance saw a serious curtail to the Empire's power, the dismemberment of the Imperial Navy, and abolition of the Stormtrooper Corps. It also cemented the New Republic as the galaxy's de facto one and only remaining superpower, and seemed like the catalyst needed to usher in an era of peace after 2 generations of unending war. Unfortunately, while the Republic was able to win the war, certain systemic issues inherent to the new government meant they would be unable to win the peace they had fought so hard to earn. The first major flaw in New Republic post-government policy was the decision to immediately demilitarize following the signing of the Galactic Concordance. Despite the fact that the galaxy existed in a state of severe unrest, Chancellor Mon Mothma elected to disband 9/10 of the professional federal New Republic military. Now, to be fair, Chancellor Mothma had noble goals of this policy, as she desired to see the galaxy transition away from the military-focused, war-first economy that it had endured under the stewardship of Emperor Palpatine. Chancellor Mothma also wanted to make it clear to the galaxy that membership in the New Republic was voluntary, and she didn't intend to have a massive federal military standing by as an implicit threat to neutral worlds. But despite the lofty aspirations of these military reforms, their effect on the New Republic military could only be described as crippling. In the span of a single year, the fighters of the Rebel Alliance had gone from a small partisan front to a large federal military. And in the wake of the Galactic Concordance, they were now expected to keep the peace with only a fraction of their original manpower. This presumably meant that the ability of the New Republic to project force or to proactively identify threats outside of its borders would be severely limited in the post-war period. Now, various canon sources imply or outright state that Chancellor Mothma may have intended for the New Republic's federal military to be supported by local planetary and system armies, which would have been raised and funded by member worlds. However, at no point in any canon material have we seen these theoretical auxiliary forces appear in support of the New Republic, with the possible exception of the Galaxy Fleet, which appeared at the end of Rise of Skywalker. But what we do see in the canon paints a fairly sad state of affairs for the post-war New Republic military. In The Mandalorian, we see that the New Republic is largely absent from the Outer Rim, and is only able to send out token patrols of X-Wings, which clearly do not serve as any meaningful power projection or law enforcement. The New Republic military was also caught totally unprepared by the rising threat of the First Order, and appeared to be nearly totally destroyed in the first few hours of the First Order offensive. The simple fact of the matter is that the destruction of the Galactic Empire created a massive power vacuum which the New Republic was unable to fill with its crippled military. Speaking of the supposed destruction of the Galactic Empire, this brings me to the second cause of the New Republic's downfall, namely the inability to fully dismantle the Empire. The terms of the Galactic Concordance were sweeping, and they did include numerous important concessions on the part of the now defeated Empire: the liberation of Coruscant, the disbandment of Imperial Academies, and the demobilization of the Stormtrooper Corps, all no doubt went a long way to reducing the power of the Empire. But it should be noted that while the Galactic Empire was broken into several factions under the treaty, the Empire and the ideology which propagated it still very much existed. In the years following the end of the Civil War, these Imperial remnant factions would undoubtedly gather around the growing power of the rising First Order. In Star Wars Legends, the New Republic did not settle for half measures, and refused to sign on for a treaty which would have left Imperial loyalists in control of sweeping reaches of space in the core. But instead, they maintained the fight until the Imperial remnant was pushed out to the edge of known space. When I think of the Galactic Concordance in canon, I cannot help but be reminded of the statement made by Marshal Foch at the end of World War I. This is not a peace, it is an armistice for 20 years. Now, there remains one final systemic issue which prevented the New Republic from obtaining the peace that we need to touch on. That being the crippling weakness of its executive office. Now, given the fact that the last Chancellor of the Old Republic used his authority to crown himself Emperor for life, I suppose it should be no surprise that the founders of the New Republic were somewhat concerned about the possibility of executive overreach. However, I believe they went too far in weakening the executive office when designing the new government. Unlike the Supreme Chancellor of the Old Republic, the Chancellor of the New Republic had very little actual authority, with the majority of governmental power being vested with the Senate. The issue that this posed was not immediately apparent in the post-war period, as when Mon Mothma served as Chancellor, she was able to rule with a combination of personal magnetism, popular support, and political acumen. But after Mon Mothma left the office, the Senate quickly fell into gridlock between rival political factions, and there existed no constitutional balance to force the legislature to compromise. Some members of the Senate proposed the creation of a new executive office, which would have been known as the office of the First Senator, which would replace the office of the Chancellor. Equipped with a large suite of executive authority, this new theoretical office may have been able to break the deadlock in the Senate and allow the New Republic to actually rule effectively. Unfortunately, the Senate was destroyed when Hosnia Prime was annihilated by Starkiller Base before these reforms could be enacted. So what could have been done to make the New Republic last longer? I think for the answer to that question, we have to look at Star Wars Legends. In Legends, the New Republic was also formed shortly after the Battle of Endor, though it was originally known as the Alliance of Free Planets. This version of the New Republic maintained a powerful federal military, never failed to take the fight to the Empire, and also functioned with a powerful executive office. The New Republic managed to endure countless threats, ranging from Grand Admiral Thrawn's campaign, to the rebirth of Emperor Palpatine, to dozens of attacks by various Imperial remnant and alien factions. And while the Legends New Republic did eventually crumble under the galaxy-wide invasion by the Yuuzhan Vong. It gave rise to the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances, which helped save the galaxy from the exogalactic invaders. And ultimately, the New Republic of Legends left behind a far more impressive legacy than the sad and ineffective New Republic of Canon. Well, that's all I have to say regarding systemic issues with the New Republic and Disney canon. Thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you.